Hey to all the spooks out there. Welcome back for another episode of Spine-Chilling Chats, where we dig up the darkest corners of true crime, history, folklore, and the supernatural to give you a reason to leave the lights on tonight. I'm Ange.
And I'm Manda.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. It's always nice to find a kindred spirit.
Yes.
If this isn't your first time, welcome back. We're so glad that you joined our family.
Yes, for sure.
And Amanda's got a story for us today.
I actually have two. So, keeping with the birthday theme that we've been doing on and off.
Because Angela gets sidetracked.
I have two February birthdays that I'm going to cover because they're kind of shorter ones. And the first one I have is Tomward. That is already going to tell you how this podcast is probably going to go this time. Thomas Edward.
I like Tomward better.
Tomward Silverstein. The first one I have is Thomas Edward Silverstein. He was born Thomas Edward Conway, and he was born on February 4th, 1952. He was born in Long Beach, California to Virginia Conway. She divorced his dad in 1952 while she was pregnant, and then she married Thomas Conway. Thomas said that Conway was his biological father. However, 4 years later, his mom divorced Conway and married Sid Silverstein, and he legally adopted Thomas. I'm going to call him Thomas. And that's where he got his Silverstein name from. He was timid, awkward, shy. He was bullied as a child. He lived in a middle-class neighborhood, and he was bullied and things like that because his peers thought he was Jewish, which, okay, I get it. Back in the 50s, people thought people were different because of their, but I don't understand why.
But that was after.
I know. That's what it said. It's that he was bullied because of, they thought he was Jewish. His mother did not help the situation. His mom demanded for him to fight back, and that if he came home crying again because he'd been beaten up by a bully, that she would be waiting for him to give him another beating.
Tough love.
He said, quote, "That's how my mom was. She stood for her mud. If someone came at you with a bat, you got your bat, and you both went at it." When he was 14, he was sent to the California Youth Authority Reformatory, where he said his attitudes about violence were reinforced. Quote, "Anyone not willing to fight was abused." So at 14, he started his abuse. Now, in covering this, and you just hear about some of the stuff he does, and then you see his picture, he's like choir boy, high school professor looking type guy.
Nerdy.
No, but he's not good looking, but he's a good looking guy. And you would never think that he would be capable, like just looking at him.
Oh.
You would never think, you have to look him up. He was capable of murder. Thomas Silverstein. You wouldn't think that he would be a murderer. And not that one.
Yeah, I say that.
That one. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like clean cut grandpa of the year type of. He doesn't look scary at all. So, he spent 42 years of his life in prison after being convicted of 4 separate murders while in prison for armed robbery. One was overturned. He spent the last 36 years of his life in solitary confinement for killing a corrections officer. They described him as a brutal killer, a former leader of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang. So he was a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang. That dude's also a gang leader. Like, it's just baffling just looking at him.
That's why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
He maintained that dehumanizing conditions inside the prison system contributed to the 3 murders that he committed. He was the longest held prisoner in solitary confinement with the Bureau of Prisons at the time of his death.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. He's
some accomplishments there.
Yeah, I mean, he set the bar high. So at the age of 19, this was in 1971, he went to San Quentin Prison, California for armed robbery. 4 years later, he was paroled, but again was arrested very soon after with his father, Thomas Conway, his cousin, Gerald Hoff, for 3 armed robberies. So his dad and his cousin helped do the armed robberies too. Now it doesn't say if they got prison time or if they went to jail. There's nothing on them. I'm sure that's a whole separate thing, but yeah. So I know that since we're covering him and this is about him, that he went to prison for it. They got less than $11,000, which is equivalent to $53,000 in 2022. In 1977, he was sentenced to 15 years for armed robbery to be served at the United States Penitentiary at Leavenworth, Kansas. While at the Kansas prison, he made friends with the Aryan Brotherhood, which is the gang, the Aryan Brotherhood. He was convicted of murders of inmate Danny Atwell, who refused to serve as a mule to run heroin. For that, he was sentenced to life in prison. He was then transported to the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois, which was then a high-security facility. It was overturned in 1985 after an emergency at the jailhouse. His trial had been overturned because the guards said that his pre-trial had perjured themselves.
Oh.
So, like, they didn't want to go through with it because then they might get in trouble. So that's why that was all overturned or whatever.
Okay.
They had perjured themselves on the stand. He was housed in the control unit, which is solitary confinement reserved for the extreme management problems, which are prisoners who are prone to assaultive and disruptive behavior. He then spent time in solitary confinement with the constant ceiling light and an uninterrupted camera of surveillance. He was allowed 2 phone calls per month and received his meals in a slot in the door.
That's the only contact he had.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd thrive in that environment.
I know, right? Like, nobody's bothering you. You get 3 meals a day. You can sleep as much as you want.
I don't have to do the dishes.
You don't have to deal with people. There's no chores.
Yeah,
like,
man,
that's the life. Not that I want to go to prison.
No, but sometimes I'd like a little vacation like that.
A vacation from life. Like, I love my kid. Don't get me wrong. But when he goes to his dad's house, it's like, because it's just me and I don't hardly eat. So, like, I don't have anything to clean up. The house is clean. I can sleep whenever I want besides going to work. I don't have to deal with anybody, like the animals. Like, it's nice to not have to take care of something.
I wouldn't know.
You need to just have a day away.
Well, yeah, but it's hard to find somebody to take her
for the day.
Like, she's stayed the night away from us twice in her 5 years of life. Once at Robbie's mom's and then once at my mom's. But that was a work night, and it was because Robbie had to be in early. And so instead of making Aurora get up super early to go to my mom's, she just kept her overnight. Yeah. So, and like when we took Aurora to Robbie's mom to stay the night, like we were there with her until 8:00.
Yeah.
So it's like not really any, and then we were there to pick her up
in the morning
by 9:00. Yeah. It's.
Yeah. But now that you've done it, you could probably drop her off earlier and be okay leaving. Now, now that you've already been through
I'm fine with it. It's getting them to take her. Oh. That's the problem. Like,
no, I mean,
I
like
don't want to ask,
the first time you drop her off is you stay there because you feel bad and it's hard to let go. But anytime after that, it's like, okay, it's 4:00. See you later. Love you. Bye.
Like, I don't want to ask people, hey, will you watch my kid? Because,
I was the same way.
I just wish they'd be like, hey, can we have Aurora this weekend? Absolutely.
Right.
Take her.
Right. Please.
Please take her. I'd like some time with my husband. So we went, gosh, 15 years, just the two of us? Because we've been together 20 years. 15 years, it was just Robbie and I.
Yeah.
So it's a big change. Yeah.
For sure.
Anyways, off topic. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so he was allowed 2 phone calls a month and received his meals through a slot in the door. In 1981, he was accused of the murder of Robert Chappelle, a member of the DC Blacks prison gang. He and another inmate, Clayton, Clayton Fountain, were convicted and received additional life sentences. He avoided the death penalty since capital punishment on the federal level had not been reinstated yet. He maintained his innocence while he was on trial for Chappelle's murder. The Bureau of Prisons transferred Raymond Lee Cadillac Smith. So Cadillac is his
Gang
name, his nickname, whatever you want to call it. The national leader of the DC Blacks prison gang, from another prison to the control unit in Marion, where Thomas was serving his sentence. From the time that Cadillac got there, or they called him Smith, from the time that Smith arrived, there was a log that they kept to show that he began trying to kill Silverstein. From the time he got there, because they killed Chappelle, which is one of his gang members. Thomas said, and I quote, "I tried to tell Cadillac that I didn't kill Chappelle, but he didn't believe me, and he bragged that he was going to kill me. Everyone knew what was going on, and no one did anything to keep us apart."
Well, no,
the
it's
guards,
prison.
Right.
They're
right.
Not
they don't care. They're like,
take care of its own problem.
The guards wanted one of us to kill the other.
Yeah, exactly.
They just are like, I don't see nothing. Nope, not happening. None of that. Thomas said that Clayton Fountain killed Smith with an improvised weapon, stabbing him 67 times.
Dang.
After he was dead, they drug his body up and down the catwalk in front of all of the cells, displaying it to the prisoners like, don't fuck with me because this could be you, or you know what I mean? Kind of like intimidation.
That would work. That would work on me.
They again got another life sentence.
But what do they care?
Yeah, they don't care. They're
already in there for
now. Yeah. That's 2 already, I think, that he's gotten. On October 22nd, 1983, he killed corrections officer Merle Klutz at the Marion prison after being let out of his cell for a shower. He used some kind of ruse or some kind of like excuse to have Klutz walk in front of him, and he positioned himself between Klutz and another officer. He stopped outside of a former prison mate's cell, Randy Gomez, where Gomez passed a homemade prison knife to Silverstein and unlocked his handcuffs. Now, I don't understand how that works because the prison guard was in front of him. I get that. You're not looking behind you. You can't see what's going on. But what about the prison guard behind him?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did he get the knife and get his handcuffs unlocked without that dude seeing him?
Right.
I don't know. Then he attacked Klutz, stabbing him multiple times. He said that he murdered him in retaliation for him earlier harassing him because he was harassing him because he said he accused Klutz of destroying paintings that depicted pictures of murder. So the guard was destroying his paintings. Yeah. A few hours later, Clayton Fountain, who is also the Aaron Brotherhood member, used the same strategy to kill corrections officer Robert Hoffman. The prison in Marion, it was subsequently placed on an indefinite lockdown, which lasted 23 years. After the murder of Klutz, he was transferred to the United States Penitentiary in Atlanta. He was placed in solitary confinement, and his security status was recorded as no human contact.
Man.
The murders of Klutz and Hoffman inspired the design. So he inspired the design of the federal supermax prison in the United States Penitentiary in Florence, administrative maximum facility in Colorado. So, dang. Because those two killed it, that's where they came up with the maximum security.
Could you imagine going the rest of your life with no contact?
The only contact he's got is whoever's sliding him the food through the door, and the guards taking him to shower. But even that, I think, was even risky after that.
Yeah.
Like, they had to have, I don't know how they let him shower.
I don't know. Just sponge baths?
Maybe.
Just throw a wet washcloth in there.
Here you go. Whore bath.
Yeah.
So that opened in 1994, and it was built to house the most dangerous inmates in the federal prison system. Thomas and Gomez were both held at the ADX, which is the
Azkaban.
Yeah, which is the that maximum security in Florence. Fountain died in 2004 at the United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri. During the 1987 Atlanta prison riots, Cuban gangs, I don't know why I don't know what that says, Cuban de Cheney? No. Cuban gangs at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary let Silverstein out from his isolation cell, and they handed him over to the FBI the FBI rescue team 1 week later. The Bureau of Prisons officials were reportedly afraid that Silverstein would begin killing correctional officers being held hostage by the Cubans before the Cubans really released Silverstein to the Bureau of Prisons. They let him out of his isolation cell, and he was able to roam freely about the prison. One of the prison guards being held hostage had a history of being kind to Silverstein. When the guard would handcuff Silverstein, he would make it a point to ask him if his handcuffs were too tight. That was the only kindness that he was shown, and so he thought that was a big deal. Spared him his life. The Bureau of Prisons were able to convince the Cuban riot leader to hand over Silverstein as a gesture of good faith, which was an easy decision for them given the fact that his status was peripheral to the aims of the Cuban leaders during the riot. So, like, he also had issues with the Cuban gang.
He's just got issues with everybody.
Everybody. And you just looking at him like, he doesn't seem like that type of dude. But, yeah, it's messed up. Thomas moved back to Leavenworth, where he stayed for the next 18 years. And in 2005, the USP Leavenworth was downgraded to medium security facility, and he was moved over to the ADX Florence, a supermax facility in Colorado. His earliest theoretical release date was November 2nd, 2095.
Oh, shit.
When he was claimed to have no human contact, it essentially was a form of torture reserved for those who kill correction officers. Quote, when an inmate kills a guard, he must be punished. The Bureau of Prisons officials told the author, Pete, early. We can't execute Silverstein, so we have no choice but to make his life a living hell. Otherwise, other inmates will kill guards too. Mm-hmm. There has to be some supreme punishment. Every convict knows that Silverstein is going through, and we want them to realize that they crossed the same line that he did. They will pay a heavy price.
Yeah. Which I understand that, like what is stopping them?
Right. And it's like,
they have nothing else to
live
for. They're already in prison for the rest of their life.
Yep. And if he can get away with it, they're going to think, well, he's one of the maximum securities, and they're letting him get away with it. So it's easy for us to get away with it. Sellers, a former convict who met Silverstein during his 25 years in prison, said that he became a legend at Leavenworth. Quote, he's not as bad as they portray. Sure, he's dangerous if they push him to the wall, but there are some dirty, rotten guards at Marion. They would purposely screw you around. You're dealing with a person locked up 23 hours a day. Of course, he's got a short fuse.
Yeah.
Thomas died at the age of 67 on May 11th, 2019 at St. Anthony Hospital in Lakewood, Colorado, after spending 36 years in solitary confinement. He died due to complications from heart surgery. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, he got to spend a little time out of solitary.
Yeah, he got an hour.
Well, no, he still had when he was recovering from his open heart surgery.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, he had to have been somewhere in a hospital, I'd assume, recovering.
Yeah. And darn, he died of heart complications. That sucks for him. So my next guy is not a really long one, and I don't think he's very popular, but I'm sure people have heard of him. But his name is, I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm going to try my best. His name is Michael Thomas Gargiulo.
Michael G.
I'm covering him because I saw a Oxygen or ID channel documentary series, whatever, whatever one of those ID shows, and it covered him, and he killed a girl who actually had a date with Ashton Kutcher that same night.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of cool, and I was just like, oh, okay, so Ashton Kutcher got brought into this whole ordeal. Also, because he has the same birthday as me.
Yay, happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I know it's weird and cryptic, but whatever. Like it's kind of cool. That's just how it was. That's just how I am. He was an American serial killer. He moved to Southern California in the 90s and gained the nickname the Hollywood Ripper. He was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to death on July 16th, 2021. As of April 2023, he was incarcerated at the California Healthcare Facility, and in September 2024, he was extradited to Cook County, Illinois, to face a trial for the 1993 murder. That's just a little
side note.
Yeah. So Michael is a native of the Chicago suburb of Glenview, Illinois. He committed his first murder on August 13th, 1993, when he stabbed his neighbor, 18-year-old Patricia Pacacchio, to death on her back doorstep. Her father found her body the next morning.
Yeah. It sucks when families are the ones that discover or have to.
Yeah, like, yeah. And you know, deep down, you know that they're dead and you know that they were murdered and you know that you cannot touch them, but something in you wants to save them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's your
human
baby
nature.
Girl.
You just
like, how do you not? I can't imagine.
Yeah. He moved to Los Angeles in 1998 to escape the scrutiny of the police in Illinois. Well, I wonder why he was getting targeted. There, he committed 2 murders in an attempted murder in Southern California between 2001 and 2008. And on February 21st, 2001, he murdered 22-year-old Ashley Ellerin. He stabbed her 47 times in her house. Her injuries were included a neck wound that nearly severed her head and deep punctures to the chest, stomach, and back. Some of them are up to 6 inches deep. Detective Tom Small said that, quote, one stab wound actually penetrated the skull and took out a chunk of the skull like a puzzle piece. Guess we should have put a disclosure in there.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, guys.
I'll put one in the show notes.
That's the night that she was murdered. She was planned to have a date to go to dinner and drinks with Ashton Kutcher, the actor. He went to the door. She didn't answer. He looked through the window and saw that what he thought was red wine spilled on the floor.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So he left. Like, he didn't think anything of it, and he left. I don't know how she was discovered. I don't know who called the police. I know he didn't.
How did she, like, score that date?
She was an up-and-coming actress. Like, not an up-and-coming actress, but she wanted to be an actress, and, you know, Ashton Kutcher at that time wasn't real big. I think he just started on that 70s show. You know what I mean? So he wasn't like this big actor yet. So he was still trying to get his foot in the door too. So he left. Well, they brought him in and questioned him, you know, all the stuff. And of course, he was innocent. On December 1st, 2005, he stabbed his neighbor, 32-year-old Maria Bruno, to death at her home in El Monte, California. She was stabbed 17 times. He also attempted to murder another neighbor, 26-year-old Michelle Murphy, in her home in Santa Monica on April 28, 2008. She fought off the attack, but the blood at the scene matched his DNA. He was arrested by the Santa Monica Police Department on June 6, 2008, and on July 7, 2011, the Cook County State Attorney charged him with first-degree murder of Tricia. Although he was charged in 2 of the California murders, as well as Tricia, the murder in Illinois, they didn't link him to any other murders. He allegedly told authorities at the LA County Jail. Just because 10 women were killed and his DNA was present at the scene doesn't mean he murdered anyone.
Right.
Duh.
What a coincidence, though. What a coincidence.
And 10, he was only convicted, or he was only accused of 3 and an attempted. And you sat there and said 10, and just because my DNA was there doesn't mean I killed him. Okay. The investigation led the investigators to believe there were more victims. The media dubbed him as the Hollywood Ripper and the Chiller Killer. Now, I don't know why they said the Chiller Killer.
I don't know, but I like that better
than the Hollywood Ripper.
The Chiller Killer.
I think there's too many rippers out there.
Everybody's a ripper.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like everybody's a butcher. Or the beast.
The beast.
There's so many beasts.
There's a beast, yeah. He was held at the LA County Jail awaiting for a murder trial. The pretrial hearing was held on July 9th, 2017 in Los Angeles Superior Court, with his trial scheduled to begin on October 7th, 2017. After the delays, his trial began on May 2nd, 2019. Ashton Kutcher did testify about those crimes in May of 2019. On August 15th, 2019, he was convicted on all accounts. The penalty phase of his California trial started on October 7th, 2019, and he faced either a death sentence or life in prison without the possibility of parole. On October 18th, 2019, during a verdict of death for Michael, after several hours of deliberation, the sentencing for him in California continues to be delayed by defense motions. On July 16th, 2021, he was sentenced to death. He was extradited to Illinois on September 6, 2024, to face trial for the 1993 killing of Tricia. If convicted, he faces life without parole. So you already have the death penalty in California, and then you extradited him to Illinois. Like, just I know you want that justice, but like, what? Why? He's got the death penalty in California, and if you give him to Illinois and they keep him for life, he's got to serve his life sentence before his death sentence. But then he's going to end up dying because it's a life sentence.
Yeah.
It don't make no sense. Just let him fucking die during the death penalty. But yeah, it's short, but those are the two that I got. And that's it.
Okay. So we have a website, www.spine-chillingchatspodcast.com. There you can click on links to other episodes. You can click our link to see our merch. You can buy some merch. You can share some merch. Valentine's Day is next week. You can order some merch. I won't get there in time, but it's the thought that counts.
It might.
I don't.
How long did it take for our stuff to come in?
I don't think it
will make it
a week now.
No.
Unless you pay a hefty shipping fee. Yeah. There's also pictures in our bio on there, so you can get to know us a little bit better.
I don't always look like this. I do actually do my hair and makeup.
Yes, she does.
Actually, I'll take that back. 99% of the time, this is how my hair is. My makeup is done. Maybe 30% of the time, I don't always wear makeup. I dress like a bum, but I can dress nice and look nice. So go ahead and look at that picture instead of this.
Yeah.
Because this is what I look like on a daily basis because I don't have anybody to impress. So yeah. So on that note, go look at our website. Also, we are on Facebook and TikTok until whatever's going on with TikTok. Instagram, YouTube. We have an email,
which is spinechillingchatspodcast@gmail.com. There is no hyphen in that one, where you can send different stories you have of like serial killers you want us to cover, any true crime case, any cryptid sightings you've had, glitches in the Matrix,
Bermuda Triangles. There is more than just a Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, I covered more than.
So I'm sure there's more out there than just the Michigan one and the Bermuda one.
Yeah. There's one over in the New England area.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like anything that you want us to cover, we cover all,
Yeah, true crime, supernatural, folklore.
chupacabra, something.
Chewbacca.
Star Wars,
Star
Lord of the
Wars.
Rings,
Yeah.
Harry Potter. We'll talk about it all.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So check us out.
Yeah. Share, like, subscribe.
Comment.
Tell your people to tell their people.
Yeah.
Tell your grandmas, your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles, cousins. I did have somebody message me. She might be watching this. Hi, Ann. She messaged me asking about, how we were doing with the podcast and if there was anything, any advice we could give her because her son had passed away and he was in the Army. And so she's writing this book and she's just trying to get stuff rolling. And then she was like, what's your podcast? And then she was like, oh, I found it. So she's going to start listening to it too.
Good.
Yeah. So exciting. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. And we hope you enjoyed. We hope you come back. And most of all, we hope you keep it spooky. Bye, guys.
Bye.